Hey, it's Tuesday and it's New Year's Eve. My goodness, 2024 is coming to an end, but you're doing it with us, Dominic D'Angelo and Mr. Robert Karpelis, WD Creative _ish, for a little rumor and innuendo. Robert, how are you? Are you have any New Year's resolutions?
Yes, it's to get you to stop making those noises at the beginning of the show. Blows out my ears every time. It's a real treat. No, I think 2024 was a banner year for rumor and innuendo. Appreciate you guys who joined us every day throughout the year. This thing is going strong. We enjoy it. We'll say hi to some of the folks here. Willie Thornbrew says, "Happy New Year, gentlemen." I'm sure everyone will always remember where they were when Chad Gable won. I know I will. Alt Jake says, "Good morning, all. I'll be at SmackDown on Friday." That's big time stuff. I don't even know where SmackDown is this week, but it's the kind of go home show before the Raw Netflix thing, so it should be a blast. E says, "What a great Punk and Rollins promo." Devin Dowling with some breaking news saying
Whoa,
it is the last day of 2024. Unless you're watching us in Australia, New Zealand, it's already 2025 over there. So
my
if
goodness.
Louis watching, they know what's going on. And a Wrestling Old Head says, "Have to shine a light on something that went unnoticed on Raw last night. The fact that Kofi Kingston is still out for revenge on Zelina Vega for the little kid prank she did to him a year ago." No clue what that is, but sure. Um, Anyway, apparently SmackDown's in Phoenix, Arizona.
Oh, nice. Ooh.
Yes,
Yes,
Dom, I've looked at your headline. I'm 0 for 2. You're like, oh, it's the Punk Rollins Netflix pipe bomb. Would not call it a pipe bomb. That's an overused phrase. And you have something called the Inaugural Innies, and
yes.
I'm already creeped out.
I know. I was ready for you to be creeped out. The Innies, guys. We're gonna at the end of the show here. We're gonna give our wrestling awards for 2024. So be on the lookout for that. But yes,
Be
we
on the look.
do
It's
have
the same show. You don't have to look out for anything. Just stay where you are,
stay here.
continue watching, and it
Yes,
will happen at the end of the show.
yes. Tune in, keep watching, and we will say something later on. Hey, some stuff was said on Monday Night Raw for the final episode on network television for Raw. Historic moment there.
It's
Uh,
cable TV, not network TV.
oh, thank
Besides,
you.
it's last day of the year. It's we're gearing up. I have to stay up late tonight.
Mm.
Like I'm not going to get my normal like going to sleep at 10 o'clock, so I'm already slightly agitated. We're going to a New Year's party thing with kids. It's
Oh
like I'll
no.
go at like 5 o'clock, and then they're just all going to run around and scream. So I'm already preempt. I'm not a big New Year's Eve guy. Don't love it. Not my favorite holiday of the year. Uh, but we're here. And Jeff Henninger says, "What about the Audis?" No, because that sounds like Audi, and we don't want to get sued.
Yes, no, we do not. But we had New Day kicking off a new Raw, new era of Raw almost. Well, the end of
It was the end of an era.
yeah, end of an era.
You're
New,
already time traveled to next week, Dom.
yes.
You're already
I'm ready for next
focused on
week.
next week. I got news for you. WWE is already focused on next week. This was very much a placeholder episode of Raw. This was let's make sure nobody that we actually care about gets hurt because we have a big show next week. So, there was no Roman, there was no Solo. Solo was on a live quote unquote
Via
pre-tape,
satellite.
live via satellite interview. There was a Rhea Ripley Liv Morgan video package, and Seth and Punk, who were there, they just talked.
Okay. Do you want to go in chronological order here when it comes to Raw?
Have you not been here this whole time, Dom? That's how we do things
All
here
right. Well,
on the hashtag RIPod.
RI Pod. That's it, guys. That's it. Yes. Well, let's go over it then. New Day comes out. They have some things to say, and then Jey Uso comes out, and he has some things to say regarding New Day and business with Solo, business with Drew. Wants Drew McIntyre to come out. Lo and behold, what Robert mentioned, Solo Sikoa gets on the big screen and has some words. But after that fact, he gets attacked by Drew McIntyre. And we got a little intertwining of storylines, Robert. Did you like this opening segment?
Yeah, I think, opening with the New Day and continuing this whole thing where they really don't get to talk. They really
Mhm.
don't get to do anything other than get booed at, furthers the heat for these guys. You're pushing it down the path a little bit, and you're that was weird.
Oh,
Yeah, you were doing something, and all of a sudden I got staticky audio, so that's
ooh.
fun. Um, Anyway, the idea that Jey Uso is yet another person to go out there and endorse this idea that New Day sucks. He's someone who's clearly super over with that crowd. They ate up 8 minutes of TV time just on entrances. They knew that the first half hour was commercial free, so let's kill some time. Jey Uso obviously super over with that audience, and the more people, babyface, heel, friend, foe, who all say they all hate New Day, isolates these two guys even more and makes it an even more special heel turn. Drew coming out to attack Jey Uso to further both the Bloodline story and their story and set up their match for next week to further bolster the Netflix debut. This was a win all around.
Yeah, you're just setting things up and making Netflix feel like a big deal by it crossing over into other stories and stuff like that. So yeah, I liked it. Yeah, didn't do anything crazy, but yeah, it was good. And I thought, I'm excited to see what New Day does as this heel. But it did make me note just how Jay Uso's just got that cool factor. He can say things in the simplest form and keep it short, but it's still super over with the crowd, and that notes the star power of him. I think so.
I definitely
Yeah.
think there's a star power element to Jey Uso. There's a vibrancy, there's an energy when he's out there that becomes infectious with the audience, which is what makes him sort of a star. His in-ring work has been somewhat hit and miss.
Hmm.
I think over the last year or so, his match against Jimmy, the low point of the Jey Uso push for the year,
Yeah.
but he serves a great purpose here in this feud.
Hmm. Hey, who served a great purpose in this feud that we got recharged a little bit? It's Chad Gable versus Otis was the opening match, and Chad Gable gets the win after little interference distraction from Ivy Nile, making Otis tap out. Robert, we talked about this months ago about a good top babyface turn maybe for Otis. What could be, what could happen, the impact that could have. Felt a little underwhelming when it did happen, and this is the follow up. I think it's good that Chad Gable gets over. I think it needed to happen, but to Otis's expense, what do you think of this?
I think that this was the symbol that they are planning on moving American Made over to SmackDown. We
Hmm.
know that SmackDown is going to be 3 hours starting this week, so apologies to Alt Jake for having to sit through all 3 hours of that. And the idea was let's send Gable off as the winner of this feud, a feud they kind of forgot to pay off. Thankfully, there were no devil masks involved here. But Otis is a dude you can beat 100 times out of 100. He goes out there and dances with Tozawa, and the crowd's going to pop for him. I think the idea that he is a main event babyface for right now has sailed, but you can always rehabilitate that guy. We saw it when he split with Tucker,
Hmm.
and they started to push him. They gave him the Money in the Bank briefcase, and he was getting manipulated by Mandy Rose, and then that kind of fell apart. Then they put him with Gable, and those guys as a heel team were absolute killers, and it worked really, really well. When they turned them babyface, they put them in Cricket Wireless ads. So Otis is a dude that you absolutely can heat up as necessary as need be. But right now, he served the purpose of elevating Gable as Gable moves over with his crew, probably to Friday Night SmackDown.
Okay, so you were totally fine with how it was handled and everything when it comes to Otis.
It's fine. I'm not going to lose sleep over it. Plus, they were able to utilize Otis's loss later on in the show with Rey Mysterio, where he's giving him the pep talk, and then this brings out New Day to further the New Day quasi feud with the LWO.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, that's a good point. Let's see. Next up, we had our truth. Little good. He makes a little promo, but gets attacked by Pete Dunne. The match is a no contest. Uh, okay. Yeah, it's, kind of. Yeah, just placeholder, as you said. I think Robert there.
Yeah,
Um,
this was a way to remind people Pete Dunne is here. He's a dude that they still have intentions on doing something with. Our Truth is another one of those great creative levers that you can pull where he's just always over.
Hmm.
and whoever you put him against is going to benefit from it. He's sort of the anti-Chris Jericho. So all you really need is him calling Pete Dunne Butch, Butch getting upset about it, Butch beating him up, everybody getting mad at Butch. Helps elevate Pete Dunne more as a heel. So another kind of forgettable but successful segment.
Yeah, we'll double back just a little bit to build up this match here, the Women's Intercontinental Tournament semifinals, Dakota Kai versus Zoe Stark. Beforehand, though, we had a promo with Dakota Kai and Io Sky talking about how they are both for either one of them winning, and they're looking forward to potentially facing one another in the finals. We'll get the follow up on that later on, but thought it was good stuff with Dakota Kai, and she gets the win against Zoe Stark and advances to the finals. So, what'd you think of that segment, and in turn, Dakota Kai winning, Robert?
It was fine. The idea of, oh, we're going to get an all damage control finals was clearly to set up that we're not getting an all damage control finals. I would have
Mhm.
preferred that. I think there would have been more interesting stories to be told there, but this is where we get with with this half of the bracket. Zoe Stark is competent in the ring, but I don't think anybody is going out of their way to go watch her wrestle. And in a week where you had that Chris Statlander Mercedes Moné match that was really really spectacular, being just adequate is not is not enough for right now. And the Raw Women's Division, the SmackDown Women's Division needs sort of an infusion of some of that NXT talent. And I think post Rumble, we'll see a little bit more of a shakeup.
Yeah, I would like to see that. I think I would like to see Dakota Kai continue on a babyface run. I don't want to see her turn heel. I think she's been a heel enough, but I want to see. I think she's a great babyface, so I'm excited to see maybe what they do and how this finals kind of plays out.
I don't want to be a jerk, but
Mhm.
I think there has to be a little bit of concern given back to back serious injuries with Dakota
Sure.
Kai. How much you can really rely on her and put some steam behind her on the off chance she does get hurt again. I hope that that is not the case. I think she is incredibly talented, but I think that has to linger in their mind a little bit.
Yeah.
Something that lingered in my mind was the Farewell to USA Network Raw video, Dom.
Yeah, what'd you think of that? I liked it. I thought it was cool, and some homages back to the previous days and significant moments. So, yeah, really wasn't like heart wrenching, like it's not going to be on USA anymore. But yeah, I thought it was good.
I think the biggest takeaway from that is under the Paul Levesque era that we are in now, the PLE, as people have called it, he's not afraid to embrace the history of Raw, even
Yeah,
when it doesn't necessarily fit the current narrative. By that, I mean you had Dolph Ziggler getting punched out by Hugh Jackman. You had Matt Cardona, Zack Ryder getting thrown off the stage by Kane, and a litany of AEW talent. The Jericho debut, Brian Danielson was shown on there. Big Show was shown on there. Edge and Christian were shown on there. Edge was shown twice. Mercedes Monet, Sasha Banks was shown on there. They're just not afraid to say, yeah, we understand there's a broader history out there, and we don't think by showing you these people or reminding you of these people that you're suddenly going to go run to the other company, that you're going to stop watching Raw immediately and go switch over to AEW. So I appreciate that. I appreciate they're not insulting the intelligence of the fans. That was my big takeaway there. Uh, the big takeaway from Judgment Day versus War Raiders and Damian Priest is I don't know how Carlito has this contract, but the fact that he never has to take a bump and never really has to wrestle, and still is getting the Judgment Day merch money, this dude has it figured out. That is my goal in 2025, to be as smart and business savvy as Carlito, give or take one uh, tone deaf promo that he delivered.
start eating apples. Maybe that's it, Robert. Um, what was I gonna say? I was gonna say something. Oh, the regarding the video package and the AEW stars being on there, it's probably also an indication that it's a telling sign that W is not that concerned with the other brand and the other competition, as we hear, and we hear that later on too when it comes to the promo. So, something to think about there.
That we do. Also, Wrestling Old Head treading dangerously close to being banned for life by saying the video package needed that Kid Rock Lonely Road of Faith song. No. No,
Not
it did not. No. Um,
um,
Ludwig Kaiser
mm-hmm.
comes out to cut a promo dressed like a cat burglar, and he's calling out Braun Breaker, and instead we get the insane lack of pop for Sheamus.
Look, they've been pairing these guys up for quite a while now. I'm okay with it. It just seems like they're going to that well pretty quickly, Ian, right?
Well, no, he's been off TV since Survivor Series. Nobody remembered this, but he's been off TV since Survivor Series. Look, Sheamus is a little long in the tooth for them right now. I think you can get another match out of this. Quite frankly, he's the perfect kind of guy to just feed to Gunther. Gunther
Sure.
has been off TV for the last couple weeks, which is a little odd. You need somebody for Gunther to just beat like a drum. This feels like Sheamus can occupy that Bob Holly slot when Bob Holly wrestled Brock Lesnar at the Royal Rumble.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
do that, and it's fine. Io Sky Lyra Valkyria. I was nuts for this match, Dom. What do you think of it?
Like I like the two stars a lot, and yeah, Io Sky. Oh my god, when I saw her at the live event, she stole the show with just her ability and her athleticism and stuff like that. And yeah, I'm a big fan of both these two, and so yeah, I'm kind of with you, maybe in the same boat that the match itself, the finals, having Io Sky and Dakota Kai is a little bit more intriguing. But I think there is some potential in Lyra Valkyria. I know she's kind of tapered out and plateaued a little bit. People think, and I can definitely understand that. But I do think there's some good baby face potential in her. So yeah, I like both these gals, Robert.
I think Lyra is very talented. She just has to stop with the golly gosh gee aw shucks I won routine.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you're on Raw, you've been on Raw for a while. You need to act like you belong there. Io Sky is probably the best women's wrestler out there right now, just in ring.
Hmm.
She's sort of like I don't want to go as far as say like a female Will Ospreay, but no matter who she's in there with, she's able to make those matches good to great. And
Hmm.
the crowd really got into her and Lyra Valkyria, which was awesome.
I think that's a good comparison, though. Her and Will Ospreay. I think that's a good comp for sure.
I don't think she's ever said the word bruv.
No, no, that's a fair point, though, too. Next up, Robert, we had
Main event.
main event, which was not a match, but a face to face. Seth Rollins and CM Punk. Um, yeah. So you just think, what are your thoughts on this promo? Just straight out, Robert. You had Rollins Punk hyping it up for Netflix. There was some stuff they went out of the elements for that you would raise some eyebrows. But yeah, I want to get your thoughts.
It's a lot of stuff we heard.
Mm-hmm.
We've heard it repeatedly. Um, I think they're trying to make this feel more epic than it is. I don't think anybody watched this promo and now suddenly said, "My God, I have to go order Netflix. I have to make sure that I'm going to tune into Raw next week." We were already all bought in on this. They were trying to get a couple of last gasps of, "Oh my gosh, they brought up AEW. Oh my gosh, they brought up Becky Lynch not being there, or that Punk doesn't have kids, or that Steve Austin took his ball and went home." Okay, we've seen it. We've heard it. They really never reached the level with this in terms of it being personal, of it being intense in the way that I think that the Drew McIntyre CM Punk stuff did. And it's suffering a little bit by comparison, but we need a big match for the Netflix Raw in a match that felt more like it should have been at a PLE. This match, the Liv Morgan Rhea Ripley match, the Roman Reigns Solo Sikoa match in a different time in a different world would have all been on the Royal Rumble card.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Robert. I liked it a lot. I don't think. I think yeah, they hit upon a lot of points that were already addressed, but just in different manner. I think, but I think it did create some intrigue because it's just like WWE actually acknowledging the competition and some of the outer elements like Colt Cabana indirectly, and I thought Punk's coming into it, he came in full force with it and with a lot of conviction. And I thought that really set it up. And I was like, well, how is Seth going to respond to this? And honestly, I thought Seth did a good job at his retort. And I thought this was one of Seth's best promos.
It was strong, and I think part of the reason why it's one of his best promos is when it is hewing closer to how he actually feels, to it feeling more authentic. You
Mhm.
know, part of the issue that they do run into with Seth a lot of the times is it can feel performative. He feels like he's playing a character who has to get his catchphrases in. This is a dude who genuinely does have some animosity with Punk, who was one of the faces of the company at a point in time when it was not as beloved as it is now. And he had to shoulder a lot of that burden. And I think he's just got a chip on his shoulder. And you feel that when he's out there talking.
Yeah.
And sometimes you want that kind of authenticity, and it's how Seth is the best. He's either good as this or the Weasley heel. What he is not good as is the Monday Night Messiah babyface, the shrill voiced "I'm your hero." I hate it. Can't stand it. Love to see something change with it. I think we will next week. I think they are really going to shake things up.
I do.
But that's 2025, Dom. We're putting a bow on 2024 with he named this. This isn't me, guys. The inaugural edition of the Innies,
Yeah.
because we're rumor and innuendo.
Yeah. That's right. Innies. Hey, let's start, Robert, with the male wrestler of the year. Who wins the Innie for male wrestler of the year for you, Robert?
I think if you look back at 2024, this was very much the year of Cody Rhodes. The end of last year, we were questioning when he failed to complete his story at that WrestleMania, and they said, no, we have a longer term story in mind with Cody and with the bloodline. Nobody was entirely certain of what that was going to look like. Cody regained that momentum. He took back this main event from Roman and Rock, and he finished his story. We got a feel good moment. We got a hell of a match at WrestleMania 40. And since he's been champion, you go back to those matches he had with AJ Styles when he first won the title. Cody has found a way to make himself interesting and relevant, even in weird situations like having to wrestle Logan Paul. And the bloodline story could have easily eclipsed everything Cody does, but he's a dude who, when you go to those house shows, when you go to those meet and greets, he feels like the guy. He feels like the champion in a way that I haven't seen since peak John Cena.
Yeah, I think Cody is a very viable candidate for that. But I went a different route. I am choosing Drew McIntyre for my wrestler of the year because of the feud he had with CM Punk and making a feud out of something where the other guy was injured for the majority of the year. And I think when Cody Rhodes moved to SmackDown and was more, cemented over there, he carried a good deal of Raw when it came to creating that main event intrigue that Raw could have been missing without Cody, and really made some compelling stuff in the ring, but particularly behind the mic on social media, using a lot of the elements to his advantage. And somebody that could have kind of plateaued, but didn't, and rose and rebuilt himself, reinvented himself, blurred those lines that is always tough to do in today's wrestling. So for me, my male wrestler of the year is Drew McIntyre for sure.
I don't disagree with that at all. I think there's a strong argument to be made that this was very much Drew's year. I have no clue what the other categories are. I know you spit these out, and then as Jeff Henninger points out, did Dom just rip off the Stiffies?
Yes, I did.
For those of you who listen to the Working Stiff end of year spectacular, we did our end of year awards that suddenly got branded the Stiffies by Scott as a joke, and then it stuck. And then Dom's like, well, we should touch on something here. So we're not touching the Stiffies. We're touching the Innies. Dom, what's your next category?
Next category, follow up for male wrestler of the year, female wrestler of the year. Robert, who gets your vote?
Toni Storm. I think that the video packages she did as Timeless Toni Storm were some of the most interesting and captivating things on AEW TV. I think her feuds, her especially her long story with Mariah May, was proof that AEW can have a viable women's division. They can tell stories, they can have great matches, and they don't have to be mutually exclusive. I think that what she's doing now as the rookie Toni Storm, and the fact that she changed up how she wrestled from Toni Storm, the wrestler, to the way she wrestled as timeless Toni Storm, with this throwback to the glory days of Mae Young and Betty Grable, to now she's wrestling as if she's an indie talent who's just getting her footing and getting fluke wins. She has such a great understanding of wrestling, and it is the reason why you want an AEW to exist. Given how badly she was wasted by WWE, she goes someplace else where there's a more fertile creative environment for her, and she's flourished.
Yeah, I'm with you, Toni Storm, 100%. I think what she did with the character persona and those segments that they had, when building her up, those vignettes and promos that she did, she could be the catalyst for the direction that AEW has taken, that more concerted direction of having those backstage segments and making things feel a little bit more storytelling than what they were before Toni Storm. So don't know if she is the proponent of that, but either way, I think she's the Women's Wrestler of the Year simply because of that too. So
Wrestling Old Head has a comment here. Said she could also finally give us a decent amnesia angle with a payoff instead of whatever that Cactus Jack angle was in WCW. I will say the Joseph Park Abyss angle in TNA was second to none.
It was
the way that he played his Joseph Park was so good, looking for his missing brother Chris. Abyss, so damn good. I never get to praise Abyss. I'm so glad we got to do this here.
He's great. He's great. All right. Speaking of who's great, who for you, Robert, was the most improved of 2024?
For me, it was Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker came over from NXT, where revisionist history is Braun Breaker is a big time star. When he was in NXT, some of his heel run work was definitely spotty at best. When they had him at the top, we were getting some muddied promos, some kind of forgettable matches, and then they put him on Raw and they strap a rocket to him, and all of a sudden this dude feels like he could be main eventing WrestleMania in 2 years time. So I think, given the significant growth, a lot of guys when they come from NXT and go to the main roster, they can wilt, they can pull back. We kind of saw that with Lyra Valkyrie. We've seen that with I think pretty deadly. We've not really seen what they were doing as opposed to doing in NXT. Braun Breaker, it was sink or swim. This dude has swam. I think he has been a huge star, and I think absolutely has improved and stepped up his game.
Yeah, I'm between him and Liv Morgan. I do think Braun, though, takes it simply because of the development he did with interviews and promos. I think really elevated him more so than Liv. I think was capable of that and had that ability to do that stuff. She just got the stage to do it on, and she made the most of those opportunities. But yeah, I think Braun is definitely the most improved from what we saw early on, even in the year to now. It's just like he feels like, boom, that next big guy coming up. And so he's definitely, I think, the most improved. Speaking of the next big guy or gal, rising star, is there somebody different that you think really took that moment in looking on the up for guy or gal moving forward, Robert?
Looking on the up? There's only one choice. There's only one choice.
Ooh.
And it is Jacob Fatu. This is a dude who has been around for quite a while in the indies. I knew about him. You knew about him. He worked for another company that we do not mention on this show. And I remember years ago when I was his fake manager on camera, thinking this guy is imminently watchable and a massive, massive star. And since he has debuted, he absolutely has that lightning in a bottle feeling of, I can't wait to see what they do with him yesterday. Like, I'm all bought in. He's another guy. That's why you look at him, you look at Braun Breaker, you're like, you could easily get to a Jacob Fatu, Braun Breaker WrestleMania main event in 2 years and sell at a damn stadium.
Yes, very much, man. Just I want to agree with you on that one because it's. I think
it's just do it, Dom. Just agree.
I'll just do it. Do it.
If you get another one, you can.
My other one was going to be Will Ospreay. And I know that sounds weird because he was really, really talented already. But the opportunity, like Liv, got a stage to present himself in a way to deliver himself as a top babyface. Man, he he was a rising star for AEW, and it's just a matter of what they do with him and how they position him. And will the company reciprocate what he's doing for them? So
No,
that's
that's
yeah,
why
I
I
agree.
didn't pick Will Ospreay. I think he's succeeding in spite of how they've been booking him. I don't know what other categories we
Final
have.
category,
Oh,
Robert, we
final
got.
category. Then there we go. That makes life much easier.
Yep, final category. The most rumored, most talked about, most rumored. Robert, who would be your most talked about personality or person in pro wrestling of 2024?
It feels weird to give this man an award, but here we are. I think it's Chris Jericho. Every moment, segment he has been involved in this entire year has led to conversation, has led to controversy, and not in a good way. He feels like he has sought out white hot talent who were on the rise, whether that be Mark Briscoe, whether that be Hook, whether that be your beloved Brian Keith. And once he gets his hooks in them, they immediately fizzle out. And no one that he has worked with this year has been better off after a Chris Jericho feud than before, which was never the case. Jericho at one point was on my Mount Rushmore all-time guys, and the way that he's operating is such a detriment to the entirety of AEW and the entirety of Ring of Honor that every time we address him on this show, it's always with this like, oh, we got to talk about Jericho, and that is baffling to me.
Well, I'll go a different route. Most talked about, I think, or most rumored would be CM Punk for me. I think, when he was hurt, he was always talked about, always still in the news, getting involved with Drew McIntyre, obviously that big feud and everything to that effect. And then even AEW making mention of him again, airing that footage, I think really spoke to the news element that CM Punk brought to pro wrestling and enhanced WWE. I think it put some more eyes on the product overall too. I think so. He is my most rumored, I think, for 2024. CM.
Now that you say that, I kind of feel like not a wrestler, but Tony Khan,
Mm.
questioning the number of decisions that he's made over the last year, his booking decisions, his decision to air that footage, him wearing the neck brace during the NFL draft and letting that be filmed. He constantly seems to put himself front and center with what's going on in AEW, and not in a good way. And I think that is fodder for folks who have a daily show, and we have a daily show here, Dom, every Monday through Friday at noon Eastern. Rumor and Innuendo on a plethora of platforms, on the WWE Creative _ISH X account, the SE Scoops X account, the at Dominic D'Angelo X account, and on YouTube on Working Stiff, Rumor and Innuendo, and ad-free shows. What a 2024 this was. 2025 already shaping up to be a huge year. AEW having their biggest show of the year in Texas, WrestleMania 2 nights in Vegas, Raw moving over to Netflix, all the potential free agents who are going to be moving around in 2025. It'll be a full calendar year of Triple H with his hand on the pencil. AEW starting their new 3-year deal in their max streaming situation. So many fun things to talk about, and there's no place I would rather be than right here with you, Dom. Happy 2025 to you and to all of you folks joining us here. And on behalf of the man who will not rest until he has single-handedly destroyed the New York Jets, Dominic D'Angelo, I'm Robert Karpolis. Best of luck in your future endeavors.
Hey guys, see you next year. Okay.